Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 hey. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, hey.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is our wonderful band. And Sophia, were you not voted in the Bohemian as the best vocalist of Sonoma County? And thank you also to Atreo and Brett and Nick for being here with us today, and thank you for being here. This is the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, and I am Edward Fillion here to welcome you to our service this morning, especially if you are a first-time visitor with us in person. Do you mind just waving at us so we can look at you and smile if you're a first-time visitor? One person. Thank you so much. And online, thank you for joining us online. Please let us know that you're there by making a comment or write to us with any questions you may have. Both for the people in the room and online, we have a website, CSL, that's Center for Spiritual Living, CSLSR for santarosa.org, where there's all kinds of information about who we are and what services we have to offer. So if you're new and you've got questions about what's happening here, especially in these very busy, rich, full holiday times, that's your place, CSLSR.org. We've also got a monthly bulletin there. It's very easy to find. There's an image of a typewriter, an old-fashioned typewriter, and if you click it, it'll take you to the bulletin. You may recall we used to hand those out, but now everything's online, and so that bulletin is kept up to date and pristine monthly, weekly actually, by Alan Yeager, our communications officer, so you can always go there. Also, something to know is that we offer a youth and family program from newborns, toddlers, elementary, middle schoolers, teenagers, and that's directed by our youth and family director, Jennifer, who's right here in the front row. You can talk to her about that program, and she will help you and your young ones get slotted into that. At our center, we also offer spiritual education. That is what we're about. If you wanted to know what are we about, it's about spiritual education. And so I'm very pleased to let you know that our catalog for education, January through 6-month catalog, is now available at the information table, so you can have a look at that and see what suits your calendar or your interest to learn about. So that's available today. Now, would you please join me in speaking aloud our vision and mission as a spiritual community? The Center for Spiritual Living is a spiritual community that promotes global transformation through personal transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. We are motivated by a compelling vision of a healthy, loving world, which we call the global vision. This vision inspires us to bring the gifts of compassion, integrity, and loving kindness to the world through our programs and teaching. Together, we are helping create a world that works for everyone. That is an extract from the Global Vision, and if you want to read the entire text, you go to our website. Now you know the address. What is the address? CSLSR.org. Search for Global Vision, and it'll take you to the expanded text of the Global Vision. Now we follow this vision through the 5 spiritual practices of our teaching. Won't you please read those with me? Spiritual study, affirmative prayer, meditation, selfless service, and spiritual circulation. One of the ways that our center shares its love is through flowers, and today we have a beautiful flower here with a dedication from Vivian Brockway, and it is for Terry Timms, who recently made her transition. Vivian says, "I'm calling her Sister Teresa, and you may know her as Terry Timms. I knew her as a generous, enthusiastic woman who volunteered on multiple projects over the years. She was also the hostess with the mostest for so many of our life events. I hope you will join me in seeing her with a glow as she embarks on her peaceful spiritual journey." And many of you will have recognized Terry from her volunteer service in our bookstore, and so we are very grateful for the dedication and for her having chosen us as her spiritual home for her life journey on this earth. Now, I know that somewhere between the music and the meditation and the prayer and the message and the silence is exactly what you are here for, to assist you on that journey, your next step in your spiritual unfoldment. You are welcome here. And please now enjoy some music that will lead us into our time of silent contemplation. Welcome.
In the silence, there is peace. In the silence, there is unspoken joy. In the silence, there's relief from a world filled with chaos and noise. So I wake to these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said right here in this holy silence. I find God, I find myself. the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world filled with chaos and noise. So I wait to these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. I find God. I find myself. So I wake to these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. I find God. I find myself.
In this silence, in this quiet, there is only one life, a divine essence, manifestations of all, created by itself. It is infusing everything that is, because it is everything. It is beauty, it is balance, it is harmony, it is serenity, peace, and that love that simply is. It is whole, it is complete, it is perfect in thought, in word, in action. It is the ground of all being, divine guidance. It is life incessantly flowing. And as I am one with it, that one source, that one power, that one creator, so is everyone in this sanctuary, on the live stream, and in the universe beyond. Each of us given the gift of humanness to show the world what the divine essence is through us, making the world a better place for all. I accept for each of us this morning the recognition, the realization, and the practicing of that divine essence through us. as it shows up as an individuated expression through its myriad of expressions. I know that in the message, in the prayer, in the music, in the camaraderie of this community, that life shows up this morning and will be taken out of this building to share with the world. And I am so grateful for that knowingness. And I simply release this word into the law, which always acts on our behalf. And together we say, and so it is. Good morning. My name is Peggy Weber. I am a practitioner here at the center. Would you please join me in the affirmation that will show up behind me? My awareness of my oneness with the universe, our planet, and every blade of grass inspires and guides me in my enrichment of the world. And so it is.
I can hear such sadness in the voices of my friends, talking about this world and its pain. But we must not lose heart, we cannot give up hope. For long have we journeyed, waiting for these times, these times, these times. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger, the higher we climb. We were made for these times. Let us turn our fears into courage, into faith, our greed to generosity. We can give our anger to love's compassion and move this injustice towards peace and unity. These times, these times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger, the higher we climb. We were made for these times. Didn't we say we are believers? Didn't we ask for grace? We must remember right now we are needed to stand and shine a light in this hour, in this place. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger, the higher we climb. We were made for these times, these times. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. We shall use our voices, we will now walk blind. We were made for these times. For these times.
Can we give some more love to Atreyu and Sophia and our band? And I want to give a shout out to our Christopher Fritchie, who was going to be here this morning singing and became ill and created this and put this together from his sick bed. We have an amazing music ministry. Let's just love them up. These times. This talk, this subject, maybe more than any subject that I've been presented to speak about, has challenged me and made me look really deeply. I was remembering decades ago, actually it was, that I used to have a t-shirt. And on the t-shirt it had 3 words. It said shalom, which is peace in Hebrew. It said salam, peace in Arabic, and then the English peace. And I loved wearing this t-shirt, and I'd go out in the woods in my hikes, and every once in a while I'd get a thumbs up from people, or people would nod to me, or people would go, yes. And one day a man came up to me, and he looked at me and he said, do you really believe that? We are faced on this planet in these human forms with a long history. A history of war, a history of oppression, a history of the wealthy ruling and having control over the impoverished. And here we are facing what seems like a huge divide. To many of us, it might feel like as bad as it's ever been. And yet I remember coming into this world as a young girl in the South during the Civil Rights Movement, and it was not pretty. In the middle of the Vietnam War, it was not pretty. And I realize now that these issues have been standing. They are long standing. So what do we believe? We talk every Sunday about a global vision. Edward beautifully started out this month, which is about wholeness. Speaking of that is permanently present and whole. That source, that one life, that one consciousness, God, Spirit, the divine, always here. Last week, our assistant minister, Reverend Russ, gave a beautiful talk, and he was speaking to that tendency to just want to go to the good, don't we? In fact, we're invited to see the good and give thanks for the good. And he said it's not enough to just see good. And so here we are looking at these times, all of these times. I was speaking recently about that line that we hear quoted. It's from Leonard Cohen. That everything has a crack in it. And that's what allows the light to get through. And I hear people talking about that, and people like that because we like the light and we want to know the light's always there. But as a minister, because it's who I am, I have to invite us back to that crack. To face those things that we don't want to face, because that's our entry into recognizing that light, to recognizing the divine presence. If we can't know it when it's hard, then of what use is our faith? We come here to reground in that oneness of life, because that's what this teaching is, right? One thing happening, that's our first principle, and for me, that is the principle. There's one life, and it lives in and through and as all of creation. Nothing, no one, no moment, no experience outside of this one. I recently went to our public library to get the book by Gabor Mate. Some of you might know him. He's a physician who works with trauma. And I'd been hearing about him, and I've worked with people with trauma, and I know the understanding of it, but I finally thought I need to go look at this because I keep hearing my friends and colleagues, people I really respect, talk about him. And while I was at the library, I always look at the recent arrivals. It's what I do. And I found a book called The One, and I picked it up to look at it, and it's written by a theoretical physicist. And so I took these 2 books home, and I started reading them. And Gabor is talking about trauma in this book called The Myth of Normal. I want to throw that out. I love that. The Myth of Normal. Life should be a certain way. This is what we're working towards. And he talked about trauma not as an event that happened to anybody, but really as that very young, primal defensiveness and ways of manipulating and being in the world to just protect our human self. And how it starts developing. And we've known this, and I've heard this for decades in my study of child psychology. I heard this. It starts developing in us in the womb by what's happening with our mothers as we grow and develop. And it becomes really formed as we come into the world until we're about 3 to 5. We develop a picture of how life is. And we develop, not by conscious awareness, we develop mechanisms, survival protections to deal with life. For those who grew up in very happy homes, there may be some out here, who had perfect parents. Just this experience of becoming individuated and recognizing that we're separate from life, which happens naturally and normally in our human development. We have a reaction to that as a primal expression. How do I cope as this sense of this individual separate from mom and dad and the world, safe and held, supported as we're held and supported in the womb? And then there's all the other stuff that doesn't feel so easy and wonderful. Little things, big things. And so Gabor's not looking at getting rid of or fixing those bad experiences. He's talking about how do we relax into, how do we meet that's happening? So we can find that sweet resonance, so we can let go of the trauma reactions and the defendedness. And I want to add the ways of being, because we use our ways of being, don't we, to protect ourselves. We deny, we deflect, we distract, we consume as a way of not meeting what's right here in these times. What's right here in the feelings and the tenderness of being a human being. And then I started reading this theoretical physicist, and he's going through the history of physics and how this understanding that's been rooted in the new science for a long time, that there's only one. Einstein spoke of this. And he's going through and he's talking about all these physicists, and he's bringing everything to this place that there's really just one thing. It's amazing. We know this, we believe this, don't we? Yes? We talk about it, but then finding it and rooting into it and remembering it and listening from it when things are challenging. Those things that are bumps in the night, just old memories and big feelings that come up as natural reactions. Does anybody have a story deep in them that still kind of comes up? We do. We have stories because they're, by their very nature, ground into us. They're habituated into us, and they feel so real when they're present. And yet here this scientist and this physician are they're both speaking that same truth, that there's only one thing. And can we relax into that? I caught an interview not long ago was with a person that's very popular out in the culture, very beloved, does good work in the world. And I heard her say emphatically, the most important question, she goes back, the most important question is, what do I want? What do I want? And all of a sudden that struck me. Oh, there's the challenge. Because we're here in this teaching of oneness, and at the same time, in Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, says this at the end of his life. We get caught in the me and what I can have. And yes, we can certainly support. And I'm hoping that most of you, or a lot of you, have reached out in prayer and experienced life improving and things healing with prayer. What's going on in me? What do I want? It's a good thing to get clarified with. In the training to be a practitioner, we're invited to look at what's underneath that. What do I want? And what is it telling me about that deep-seated want and desire? Ernest Holmes says that everything in the universe is a reflection of consciousness. Everything. And culturally, historically, up until this time, I might say, we have been taught to want to change and fix the outer conditions. Have we not? To go after what we want, to get rid of what we don't want. And so here today we're talking about, in the name of wholeness, enriching the world. And so what is it that we're actually doing? What is the call of this teaching? Reverend Russ said, it's not enough to just see good. We have to meet what is, and then we have to do something. And I love that in our movement, we're starting to talk about taking action in the world. I remember an old quote I heard from Gandhi when he said, those people who don't think that religion has anything to do with the world don't really understand what religion is. Our movement itself, and I've spoken this to you because we don't talk about this historically, that when we started out as a movement of oneness, of the Godness that lives everywhere, the people and the leaders of this movement were engaged in world affairs. They were environmentalists. They were suffragettes. They were animal rights people. They were abolitionists. They knew that the work they were doing had something to do with the world, and they were participating. And then at some point in our early history, we started focusing on, what can I have? So today, I want to invite us into that bigger perspective. That bigger perspective that Ernest Holmes spoke from the very beginning of his teaching. To listen from the we, the wholeness. To listen from the oneness of what is mine to experience and express. Because we, like these times that we're living in, have been put here together. And so we are invited to stop and listen from a higher voice. I was listening to an interview by an astronaut, and many of you, if not all of you, have heard the stories of astronauts who have gone out in space and turned around and seen the Earth. And one of the things that they experience and express is the wholeness and the beauty of planet Earth. A planet Earth that truly has no borders, no separation. That we're living as one planet. And what this astronaut I was listening to said, Ron Garan said, what we need is to see ourselves as planetary. Because historically, we have been wired to see ourselves separate. Don't we see ourselves separate? We do. It's not a bad thing. It's not a broken thing. And then the culture has taught us and encouraged us. You are this individual. In the West, we are rugged individualists. And yet here is this teaching that says, not so much. Ernest Holmes says in his textbook, The Science of Mind, he says there are no individuals, just individuated expression of the one. So we're being called to listen to something that's beyond our human perceptions. Everything we've been known and everything we've been taught. What is life? What is the wholeness? What is love, God, the divine, calling forth in me? That's the core of this teaching. That's the ground from which our activity happens. We often speak the words of the St. Francis prayer here. It's a beautiful prayer by a beautiful spiritual teacher, a mystic. Make me an instrument of your peace. And the truth is, we're always instruments. Always, right? We're always instruments because we are a divine expression. It expresses through us in every moment. The question is our instrument tuned and aligned with the oneness? What are we expressing? We're always expressing. And so it's not that we're not here to do stuff, and there's a lot that can be done, but we're always doing something. And so what I want to invite us all back to is, from whence am I doing? In thought, in word, in activity. Am I speaking from wholeness? In the textbook, Ernest Holmes speaks the words from the Bible teaching in Christianity. A house divided unto itself cannot stand. The great mystic in one of Ernest Holmes' teachers, Emma Curtis Hopkins, says, there is no mixture in God, no good and bad. And the more I have studied and read her over and over and over again and done my work, the more I really get what she's saying. That if we're going to stand in oneness as one thing, that we can't think and speak things that are outside of that. Because then our house is divided. You with me? I was recently with some old friends of mine. We were having dinner, and a conversation that came up that was really uncomfortable, and they both had experienced a pain and a hurt from somebody, or had conflict with somebody that I know and love. And they both started going on and on and on about how horrible this person is. And I know these people, and I knew that if I went at them and just denied what they were saying or said, I disagree, that I'd get pushback. And so I just sat there and listened. And at the end of when there's a pause, I said, and there's more to this person. And still there was pushback. I went home wondering if there was anything for me to say and do. And I prayed, what's mine here? Because I didn't want to argue with them, and I didn't want to make them wrong, because they'd had some experience they believed, even though it was an old experience. And by happen chance, they sent me a picture of these two animals that lived in their house that were lovingly laying together head to head. These are two dogs that didn't really get along. And when I saw that sweet picture, I remembered a quote from the Course in Miracles, a quote that I love. The holiest spot on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present-day love. And so I sent them that quote. No other words were spoken. I didn't say anything about what had happened the night before. They didn't really address it, and yet there felt like there was a shift. They both communicated with me. Didn't say, oh, you're right, or I'm sorry, or, oh, wait a minute, I have to rethink this. But their conversation with me was somewhat of an acknowledgement that they had gone off on this person and it maybe wasn't appropriate. But what I had to look at is, where do I have those stories? Do you have stories that you go off on yourself or something in the world? In these times, what are the stories that you have? Where are you picking sides against this person or that person, this situation or that situation? Because we do, right? We do. And if I'm going to be a contribution to war, I can go march and I can vote, I can run for office, I can work and campaign in all sorts of ways in this world. I can serve in big ways and small ways. But the core of this teaching, Ernest Holmes invites us to shift our own consciousness. So the first thing I had to do is come back and shift my story. I had to stop the war that went inside my head that says there are people that are right and wrong, good and bad. There's a way that's the way it should be. To listen for something bigger. That stopping and listening is so simple. It's really our practice. Align with the oneness beyond human understanding. That's Ernest Holmes' definition of prayer. So simple. Stop. The complicated part is where we hold on to the stories and we believe them, because they seem so real. And yet, if we're going to realize, and I don't know how things are going to pan out on planet Earth, but to be a contribution, I have to allow myself, as Gandhi spoke, to become that message. And then allow that to speak through me. And the way in is when I notice what I'm thinking and feeling and doing. Noticing when I'm thinking in opposition to oneness. Because we do. Not broken. Just the way we've been wired and programmed. I heard a neuroscientist speaking quite a while ago, talking about the evolution of the human brain and how we are still mostly centered in the reactive brain. That's where most of the messages come from, that there's all these messages going to the neocortex that go, alarm, alarm, not safe. And where our human brain is at this point in time is there aren't as many messages going from the neocortex to the amygdala going, tain't so. You follow me? So we're on that cusp in these times. Can I stand in a bigger truth? Can I listen from a higher place than what my brain wants to tell me to do? wants to tell me is true. One of my new teachers in the teaching of oneness, Rupert Spira, says, when we become awake to our oneness, we cease using the world for the sake of our happiness and start using our happiness for the sake of the world. Really, that's the radical nature of this teaching. To stop living from the outside in and start living from the inside out. Isn't it that it comes from consciousness? Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great mystic in the beginning of Ernest Holmes' awakening in this teaching, said that when we embody that truth of oneness, a revolution will be set forth in our governments, in our industries, and in our education. We were made for these times. We've been wired and set forth to be that which we truly are, which is more than these separate selves. And yet our world, all the systems, the government, the industry, the haves and have-nots, the oppressors and the oppressed, all the systems of our world have come from that old thinking. They've come from the thinking of division and separation. And so here are the great mystics, and here are the scientists, here are the astronauts saying, there's just one. There's just one. And so we are invited to stop and touch that ground and listen deeper. Ernest Holmes talks about when we pray that before we even pray, we need to stop and listen for that the divine wants to pray through us. Because some of you might know that there's not enough stuff. There's not enough adventures in life. There's not enough love outside to fill up that place. Ernest Holmes, back during the time of the Cold War, gave a talk, and he talked about sacrificing the small for the large. We don't like that, sacrificing, giving up. What if what I'm told to do is inconvenient for me? And the one thing that I truly know from the experiences that have been given to me is that when we give it up for the one, we don't lose out. That we get a fullness and a fulfillment that's beyond anything that we can chase after in this world. And so we're invited to practice. We're invited to practice again till it becomes the way of our livingness. Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Buddhist monk who lived in the times of the Vietnam War, and he got exiled from Vietnam because he was marching and protesting in his peaceful way. He stood in this understanding of engaged Buddhism that was being the active teaching in the world, and he said, we have to practice and practice till we see ourselves in every moment, every person, every situation. That's some deep practice. The other thing I have heard and learned from the astronauts is they talk about looking at the earth and that thin layer of atmosphere. We talk about the ozone, thin layer that allows us to have life, us and everything. And it reminds me of the fragility of this passing world. Our lives are so tender and fragile. And in Buddhism, as in this teaching, we talk about the preciousness and the sacredness of what's right here before us. And so in this holy season, this time of celebrating miracles and light, that enriching of the world, and the big challenges that call us forth to engage. There is always in that call to just be it right here, in every encounter, on the road, while we're shopping, to see it and know it as we're watching the news, that preciousness and that tenderness of life. Because that's our entry, and that's our ministry, and that's how we start the revolution of seeing and expressing and awakening to wholeness and oneness. Let us pray. We stop together to recognize that one that is fully abiding here. A wholeness, a being that holds and wraps itself around and then fills everything, every particle and person, every moment, every experience of life. Comes from this one source, God, the divine spirit, named and unnamed. It is always fully present here. It is that animates, it is that informs, it is that unfolds in and as creation. One unified field, one universe, one planet, one people. And it is that is the very life of my life. No separation. No me apart from life. No me apart from that divine presence. It is all that I am. And it calls me home in prayer. And it calls forth as prayer. And so I know it as the truth of each and every one here, each and every one hearing this word, each and every one with whom we share life. Everything that is happening is calling us home. And that home of our being, full, rich, awake, alive, peace, a love, a joy beyond human understanding. It is that guides and directs us in all that is ours to think and to know, to speak and to do. It is forever calling us. It is forever moving and shifting through us. And it is forever meeting us every moment in every situation. And so we simply anchor in this awareness. We open and listen, knowing that it is that anchors, and it is that opens, and it is that sees ever more clearly in our thinking and our feeling, sees through our eyes beyond our human assessment, sees that holiness, that preciousness, that oneness of life, hears with new ears. We are here in this spiritual revolution of awakening. We are here living from this wholeness that by its very nature enriches and opens us more and more in this world. And so I take this time to know this truth, to call it forth in this new conscious moment called prayer. To know it is the all in all, and it is always here, wholly, every whit present. As we listen anew, we open anew, we follow anew, ever more closely. And And I celebrate this knowing, oh, in these holy times, in the beauty and the horror, there is this one. God's beseeching, God's awakening, God's conspiracy to awaken, to evolve, to become more itself in our world. I celebrate this. And I know that it is known and done by that knows and does all things. It is the source of all. And I know that it is truly abiding, fully known, right in the very source of our being, the true essence of who and what we are whole right now. Held in the integral part of this one life. And so I simply let go. I let this be. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Ruth, for awakening us to wholeness. Shall we appreciate Reverend Ruth for being our teacher this morning? And I invite you to take a deep breath with me and to exhale with a sigh as we make the transition to the next part of our time together. And this part is the part we call spiritual circulation. Circulation is a series of spiritual practices that include giving and receiving, learning how to ask, learning how to forgive, learning how to celebrate and acknowledge. All the things that keep us in the flow of life. You know, you can't only breathe in. There's got to be this give and take. And so we practice being aware of that. And one of the ways we do that is by supporting our spiritual center financially, in our consciousness, with our prayers, with our activity and energy, and our volunteering. This particular moment is about our financial support. And this is the season of giving. And as you can see, we're starting to get ready for holiday festivities. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And it takes a lot of time and energy and funds. And so if there is anything about the center that has fed you spiritually, that's the breathing in. And this is your opportunity to breathe out with your financial support so that we can continue to do this. This Center for Spiritual Living is a little oasis of alternate spirituality in this county, and we are building it together. So with your gift, your financial gift, you will be sustaining the breathing out. You can give by going online as well as giving in person. There's all kinds of ways on our website. We'll accommodate any way that works for you, including text to give. This is the number for text to give, and you can do that right now. You can just get your cell phone out and text that number, and it will direct you how to get registered to use it. And the advantage of the text to give is that you can do that from absolutely anywhere, even sitting in your pajamas at home, watching, because sometimes when I'm at home behind a screen, there's that separation, and then I'm on to the next thing. I go make breakfast there, and I forget. Oh yeah, I just got fed. I just breathed in. Now I can text to give and breathe out and support the center. So if you're online right now, please pick up your cell phone and join us as we participate in the giving right here in the room. It is very dangerous to only breathe in. And if you'd like to know more about that, then join us for our class on circulation that's coming up in January. I invite the ushers to stand and invite you to take your gift in your hand or get it going on your text and say after me, I bless this gift. Do you know what bless means? It means to see the wholeness in something, the connectivity. Oh, I love that. I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does amazing work in the world. And so it is. Ushers, please receive the gift.
joy. Spirit, guide my day. Open my heart to live your way. Teach me to hear your voice. Open my mind to the freedom of joy.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. And I just want you all to know on stage, one of the people online is Christopher Fritsch. He's watching us all the time, giving commentary on how well we're doing. So thank you, Christopher, for being there online. I watch when I'm away online. I remember once watching the service. I was on a subway in another city in Europe, and I had forgotten my AirPods, the earphones, and I was one of those guys. I put it on, and I sang along to it until I got shamed on the subway for not appropriately being socially tuned in. Anyway, well, it's my home. It's my spiritual home, and it's like one person said about coming to the center to be spiritually fed. She said, I can barely make it from one Sunday to the other because it sustains her so much. I can feel that. I know that. We've got all sorts of things for you to sustain you and grow you spiritually together. You're invited to join me this Wednesday for our pre-solstice service, because solstice is the next day after our Wednesday celebration. So that's Wednesday the 20th at 7 p.m., and we'll gather around that tree outside that we've adorned with handmade ornaments. You made those ornaments. It stands as a beacon of the returning light, and that will be a symbol of our hope for brighter days and the greater expression of wholeness. We'll sit in concentric circles towards the tree. That's Wednesday evening with tea lights. It's going to be lovely. Now, if your holiday plans are such that it takes you away from our candle lighting service that happens on December 24th, maybe you're going somewhere and you can't do it, we've got an option for you to consider. You can come to our dress rehearsal on Friday, December 22nd. That's 7 p.m. So you can get a sneak preview of the beautiful music, and you can also give us an opportunity to practice the logistics of it. So that's on, what day is that? December 22nd, which is also St. Cecilia's Day. Come on. Patron saint of music. Do we have any Catholics? Nobody. All right. Well, here's another way you can remember December 22nd. It's Christopher's birthday. So if you come on Friday, you can come for a dual purpose. We'll embarrass him and sing happy birthday. Oh, he's listening. Oh, shoot. Okay. Our Christmas Eve candle lighting service, that's on December the 24th. You have some options. You can come at 6 p.m. or you can come at 8 p.m. or you can watch online, and that's only for the 6 p.m. service. That'll be online at 6 p.m. and we'll leave it up so you can watch it when you like. Then the next morning is Christmas Day, and you can stay at home. This is online only, but you can be in your jammies and with Reverend Tara at 10 a.m. for a sweet Christmas Day gathering only online. Now here's a little important change, little and important, because our regular Sunday service lands on Christmas Eve day. Sunday is December 24th. That's in the evening when we're going to have all those services. So we're not doing 2 services in the morning also. One at 11 a.m. So there will be no 9 a.m. service on that Sunday. So please come accordingly. Mark your calendar. Only one service at 11 a.m. on December the 24th, and then the 2 services in the evening. Whew, I think we got it. Now to cap it all off, we got at the end of the month on December the 31st, that's a Sunday, at 4 a.m. World Peace Meditation. So this has been going on in our community since 1986. And we're the lucky ones. Greenwich Mean Noon time happens to be 4 a.m. for us. Yay. So we gather, put on your pajamas, come, there'll be a beautiful peace altar all over here, and we'll have music, and it's quite lovely because it's cold and it's dark. For me, it really helps us tune into the contemplation of peace. We'll be doing that. And there are still communities across the world that do that. So get up early on that Sunday, come to the 4 a.m. meditation, go get breakfast, and then come back for service. January is on its way. It's almost here, and January is an opportunity to start things new. Not so much with resolutions, but how about with a vision for your life? You can vision for your life on Sunday, January the 7th, and you'll get to make a vision board. Sometimes people call that a treasure map. It's the idea of creating a visual representation of where you intend your life to go. So that's coming up in January on the 7th at 1 p.m. You do need to register for that one. It's a great way to spend a wintry afternoon being creative. You have to register because we have to prepare the material for you, all of the stuff. So do that and make a date to spend your first part of the year getting clear on what do you want to express. How do you want to use your happiness on behalf of the happiness of the world? What a lovely idea. Do that. Now, finally, the last thing I want to talk about is a mindfulness practice for us. As more people are showing up to the center, we are using more of our parking spaces. So we've noticed that some people are driving a little fast in the parking lot, and also some people are parking across 2 parking spots and then getting grumpy in the parking lot. So we'd like the experience of Sunday celebration to begin when you leave your home, right? And then you bring the consciousness of love into the parking lot and park mindfully, walk slowly, come early, and park in one parking spot at a time so that we can be safe, especially as we continue to grow. And we're growing back into our fullness post-pandemic, so thank you. Now, if there's anything that is incomplete in you, or if you cried yourself to sleep last night, you just got something you want to celebrate, you've got some options to get spiritual support. Online, we have a Zoom room where prayer practitioners are waiting right now to listen to your request and do prayer with you. Now, you won't be put into a whole group of people. You will be matched with one prayer practitioner. So it's quite private and confidential. You can go do that right now. Just go to our website, CSLSR.org, and find the link there. If you're in the room, you can go to the host in the corner over there, and the host will connect you with a prayer practitioner. Use this service. It's beautiful. And now, won't you please stand as you are able, saying something wonderful is happening through me right now. Is this thing called life. Life is in my mind, life is in my body, and life is in my affairs. I think it, I feel it, and I accept it. Just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. Know with me that you are never alone, that Spirit is right where you are. that you have only to look within at any moment to know that you're guided, sustained, and empowered by a presence that expresses itself as you in this world. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly so that in everything that we do and say and think, we honor this presence within. And so it is. And let us close in song.
So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a